You set me on fire, striking a match on my lips, hot like June.
Oh my God. Okay, wow. The microphone is actually on. I'm sitting here. The little red light of the camera's on. Everything's going. Guys, welcome to Mad Woman, the podcast. I'm your host, Domenica Calarco. I can't wait to take you on this journey with me. Let's get started. All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Mad Woman, the podcast. I'm your host, Domenica Calarco, and I've kind of always wanted to say that. So welcome back. I have had the most hectic week of moving and getting into my new place. And amongst all of that, I've been reading all of your incredible feedback on Mad Woman. And can I just say, amongst the chaos of moving and all of the craziness that is my life at the moment, being able to read all of your feedback, the reviews that have been on Spotify and Apple have just been incredible. So I just want to say thank you so much for that. It's honestly made the manicness of my life over the last 2 to 3 weeks all worth it. I honestly thank you from the bottom of my heart. It makes all of this so worth it. Being able to, read your feedback and see just how much, already the podcast has touched so many people is incredible. But yeah, moving, wow, this is the 5th time that I've moved in the last 6 and a bit years. And when I tell you that I am done, I am done. I'm currently looking at boxes. I'm looking at my shit just strewn across the floor while I'm in this makeshift podcast studio here in my new house. I can hear the cicadas, I can hear the birds, but thank God I have purchased this ridiculously expensive microphone that blocks all of that outside noise out. I kind of wish that my brain was like this microphone and blocked out all of the outside noise because that would help me a lot in life. That would be great. But guys, when I tell you thank God for removalists, thank God for removalists. Like without, the help of people who are experts at stacking a truck, like when the truck arrived, I thought there is no way that all of my shit, all of my life is going to fit in this truck. But let me tell you, they performed some Tetris magic bullshit and they fit it all in. So, wow. Saying goodbye to my old house was really, really bittersweet. I had so many great memories at that house in Ashfield. Great memories, but also really sad times. Lots of laughs, lots of love, but also in recent times, this year there was a lot of tears, a lot of really, really dark moments. So I had a moment when I had to go back and do the final clean where I kind of had a little cry and said goodbye to that space and just said, this is the closing of a chapter, really the closing of a book, and said goodbye. Even thinking about it now makes me a bit emotional, but, new growth. This is a new experience for me. I've officially moved back out to Western Sydney. I'm much further out from the city now. I was only 15, 20 minutes from the CBD and now I'm 55 minutes to an hour away. So it's a different life. I did grow up, as a country girl, as a farm girl. So I'm back to my roots now and it feels good. What doesn't feel good is living amongst boxes and having my life kind of strewn everywhere. But once the dust settles, it's going to be amazing and I can have Christmas here. I'm really looking forward to Christmas and cooking in my new kitchen and doing the things that make me happy. I think getting back to what truly makes me happy, and that is being with my family, being closer to my friends that I grew up around, cooking, sitting around talking shit with my family and friends at the dinner table. That's what I'm really looking forward to. So here's to new chapters. lots of new beginnings have just started in the last few weeks. And one of the most exciting ones being this new podcast, Mad Woman. And I'm so happy that you guys are here for the journey. Today's episode is going to be covering a lot. And I know there's going to be lots of ears listening in on this for a multitude of reasons. But I really wanted to kind of just draw the line underneath this and end the kind of questions surrounding, what happened with Sit With Us, going through a very public friendship fallout. And I spent the last 2 days writing out notes on this, which was already in itself really cathartic because so much has happened over the last 3 months in particular in this sphere of my world. But yeah, losing friendships, going through friendship breakdowns in your 30s doesn't get any easier. Friendships can be some of the most rewarding relationships in our lives. And for me, they always have and always will be. But they can also shift and change in ways that we really might not ever expect. And when I tell you that this was something that I never expected, oh my God, that is, I don't even know how to put it into words. Whether it's growing apart, life changes, or simply drifting, the end of a friendship can feel like a very significant loss. And this was, the friendship breakdown that I guess I went through was not only a friendship breakdown, but it was a business relationship breakdown as well. So it was like a double whammy, bam, bam. And I've received a lot of questions on, how did I cope with this? But just in general, like, what did I do to help me get through that time? I wanted to dive into some strategies that helped me navigate through these, tough transitions, and how I came out stronger, which is kind of wild that I can sit here and say that I've come out stronger, because at that time I genuinely thought that I would never feel me again. I would, I felt like I was going to be alone forever. Not only had I just gone through a breakup, significant business loss, friendship loss. It was a bad time, guys. And it was made so public and everyone was just like, ha, 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 pointing fingers, it felt like. The one thing that I kept reminding myself was that it's okay to feel a mix of emotions. And for me, it was grief, relief, confusion, and a lot of anger. So I wanted to kind of explore how I processed these feelings and moved forward with grace and the ability to, I don't want to say be the bigger person, but just be able to move on and leave things in the past. So I think the first thing is, acknowledging your feelings and the way that a certain situation and the breakdown of that situation made you feel. That is first and foremost the most important thing. As someone that has, dealt so openly with my mental health struggles, the one thing that's always helped me is being very vocal with the way that I feel, whether that be I'm feeling depressed today, I'm feeling anxious today, I'm feeling very sad today. The moment that I express that emotion, it almost feels instant that emotion has somewhat kind of, I've released a little bit of it. It's like accepting being present with that feeling, knowing that, yeah, I can't change that feeling instantly right now, but releasing a little bit of that tension and that tense feeling that I'm holding on to is the first step in feeling better. I also took a lot of time to reflect on the friendship, and this was just a really big part of the grieving process. It's you look back on great memories, the not so great memories, but also the things that made you laugh, the things that made you cry, and just kind of looking between the lines, reading between those lines a little bit more. I'm going to touch on that a bit more now, but I think that first and foremost, my number one tip is just give yourself time. I think in today's society, we often forego giving ourselves the time and grace to get over things. Everything has to be so instant, even our healing. And I don't understand that at all. I don't know where that came from. I think it has a lot to do with the societal norms, the pressures on everyone. Everything has to be instant. Get over it, smile, fucking move on. There is no such thing as that. Like, I don't know where that came from. And I think the sooner that we acknowledge and accept that healing isn't instant, it's not linear, the better that we are going to be as a society. I wanted to give a little bit of time and space to talk about Sit With Us because I didn't get the opportunity to do so on the Sit With Us platform. It was a really rough time after I'd come out of hospital, rehab, whatever you want to call it. I still went on my holiday with my family because I felt like that was the right thing to do. And it really was. Italy was so healing for me. Coming back to reality was a bit hard. I think everyone kind of gets a bit of the post-holiday blues. But for me, it was like a double whammy because I came back to a space of uncertainty. I didn't know what was going to happen business-wise, and then friendship-wise. On top of that, it was just a fucking schmozzle, to put it lightly. The breakdown of the friendship and the business was so public, and there is no way, shape, or form that I had any training or there was nothing that was going to make that situation better for me at all. I went through days of feeling sad, and then I was really, really, really angry. I'm going to be completely honest with you guys. A lot of the anger came from I needed to just start from the start really with this, because even though I've written notes, it's really hard to express myself because I want to do this justice and I just want to say it once and I don't ever want to talk about it again. Getting back from my holiday, Ella and I had spoken prior to me going on holiday that it was time to end Sit With Us. You know, it had run its course, and I think it was the perfect timing at that point to just go our separate ways in terms of Sit With Us. You know, from everything that had happened in the media to, I guess, my own health struggles, I just felt that it was the right time for me to focus on me. And I guess Ella felt the same way for her. When we had reached that decision, we thought, let's wait until I get back from my holiday and then we can kind of figure out what we're going to do from there. When I got back, we had a chat and we kind of talked about how we were going to do this, and I brought forward the idea that I really wanted to post a comment in the Facebook group that we had. We had built a huge community in the Facebook group, and I know that a lot of the listeners here on Mad Woman are new listeners, but also are coming from Sit With Us as well. So I just wanted to acknowledge that you were such a huge part of that journey being in that Facebook group. And I posted a comment in there just kind of stating that, you know, Sit With Us had run its course and we were coming to the end of that journey, and I wanted to thank everyone for coming along on that journey, and that we were preparing to say goodbye. And that was what we had planned. We had planned to record a final episode, which I was going to record in Sydney, Ella was going to record it in Melbourne, and that was, you know, the way that it was meant to be. I posted that comment because I really felt like I needed to start this grieving process. And for me, that was the way that I was going to grieve. It was like, okay, this is the end of an era now, and I need to pay respect to the people that helped get me here, you know? yes, Sit With Us was a joint business venture for Ella and I, but in that moment I was like, I need to do this for my own grieving process and I need to do what feels right to me. By this point, the friendship as well as the business relationship was completely disjointed. I didn't feel like there was a friendship there at that time. We hadn't actually spoken about it. It was like this unspoken thing where we had like drifted by that point. But after I'd posted that comment, there was like radio silence, and it felt as though I was kind of like not left in the dark, but I didn't feel like Ella was on the same page as me at that point. It felt as though she just kind of wanted to just be like, thanks for listening, guys, and being here on this journey. Goodbye, see ya. We had planned to do the episode, and then a few days later, I get a phone call from Ella saying that she no longer wanted to record the episode with me. She didn't think that it was needed because I had written that comment in the group, and that was, in her words, going to be enough to say goodbye. She also said that she didn't feel comfortable getting on a microphone and recording with me. At this point, I knew that there was bigger issues. I didn't really look into it that much because I was kind of a bit shocked that she didn't want to record a final episode when we had said in the Facebook group that we were going to record an episode. And I think it was what was right. And still to this day, that really irks me. I really hate that we didn't record a final episode. So I guess this is my way of thanking you guys if you've come over from Sit With Us. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry that I didn't fight harder to record that final episode, because I know what was right. And I know I need to let go of that because it's not healthy, but I just still to this day, it really hurts me that I didn't stick up for myself in that situation. Prior to this and prior to me going into the ward, it was pretty clear to the both of us, that being Ella and I, that I had copped the brunt of the backlash and the drama surrounding Sit With Us. For some reason, the force of everything landed on me, and I don't know if that's because I am more of an outspoken person. I was the one that spoke more in that episode. I also just want to quickly touch on that because when we had planned that episode to come out after everything happened, we obviously planned it together. And when you are doing a joint podcast, it's kind of an unspoken rule that you both talk 50-50 and, you're both leaning on each other. I felt as though I had to really step up because during that recording, it was like she didn't speak at all, and left me to just say everything. And I think now looking back on it, that was strategic on her part, because she knew that I was taking the full brunt of everything. During that time, suddenly working relationships with brands were all put on hold. Some pulled out. It was a fucking terrible time for me. I had no money coming in. I didn't know. There was so much uncertainty for my future. But I will never forget a message that I received from Ella, and I should have known from this point really. A message while I had gone to a health retreat up in Queensland because I just needed to get away. I received a message from her saying, because I was really worried. I was like, we need to do something. Like, this was before we had recorded that episode. I was like, we need to do something. We need to figure this out. We need to say something. Like, our silence right now is making this worse, and no one listened to me. I just want to verbatim right now set the record straight that I wanted to come out and say something the day that the shit hit the fan. And I was silenced, not only by my co-host, but the wider gods that be where Sit With Us was at that time. And Ella sent me a message saying that, you know, she hadn't felt a thing. Her deals were still there. Everything in her eyes was as normal. And she didn't feel the need to say anything or to take this further because in her eyes everything was okay and none of her deals had you know, broken down. And yeah, I will actually never forget that message. Even though she could see that someone that she called a friend was holding on mentally by a fucking thread. And she knew everything that had happened, like all of the, you know, all of my sponsors and all of my partnership deals that had, you know, fallen out and everything. She knew everything. And to send that message, I just think was not only self-absorbed, but like narcissistic because she had no compassion for me in that position, especially because she knew I was taking the full brunt of it all. And I think a lot of you guys, if you've been around since then and you were listeners of Sit With Us, you saw all of that. And I think everyone can see that and saw that. And then, you know, to get to record that episode that we did and the fact that she hardly spoke, like it all makes sense now. And even as I was writing down the notes for what I wanted to say in this episode, I kind of found myself falling into that angry trap again. And I needed to take myself back out of that situation. I needed to use all of the strategies that I learned in my anger management classes because I could feel myself getting riled up. And it just makes me really angry, but also sad that someone that I called my friend would do that to me in like my deepest, darkest moments. And she knew that. She was like one of the closest people in my life at that time. You know what I mean? Like the only other person that really knew every little nitty-gritty detail was my mum. So it was just wild to me. And I think, you know, out of everything that's happened for me, the one thing that I regret the most is that I didn't push to record that final episode. I really hate that. I kind of let her get away with that. You know, it makes me I feel like I let down the listeners of Sit With Us. That's the way it makes me feel. I let you guys down and you were the reason that I'm here today. You're the reason that I have a platform now because there are loyal people out there that genuinely love listening to what I have to say. And I don't know, like that's going to take some time for me to heal. I know that. And that's the work that I need to put in. And I'm willing to put that work in. You know, I think by now you guys can really read between the lines and see really how difficult of a time this actually was for me. The breakdown of our friendship really started, I guess, when the backlash from Sit With Us happened. I think we had very differing opinions and views on the way to handle the situation. For me, I wanted to face it head on. I didn't want to bury my head in the sand. But for Ella, that was her way of dealing with things, of acting like nothing's wrong, ignoring it, moving on, keep on keeping on. And don't get me wrong, I'm all for getting back on the horse. Like, fuck yeah. Like, you know, you got to keep going. But when it's something as detrimental and fucking huge as what we were dealing with, you can't just bury your head in the sand. It was making things worse. And I think, and justifiably, people were kind of like shocked that I wasn't saying anything. And I was like, I fucking wanted to so badly, guys. Like I so badly wanted to come on there and on the podcast, on my socials, I wanted to address it head on. But I was told by the greater powers that be, number one, but also my co-host and someone on her back that shut up, don't say anything, ignore it, it's going to go away. I knew in my fucking core this was not going away. And let me just tell you guys, listen to your instincts and your gut. Your gut will never lie to you. Wow, I've just got shivers all over my body. My gut and my instinct was just telling me, Domenica, you have to do something here, otherwise it's going to be bad. And you know what? I learned a really big lesson. Another way that I've been grieving this friendship breakdown, loss, in particular, has been look for the lessons. And for me, listening to my instinct, number one lesson in this whole situation. Every experience, even the painful ones, can teach us something valuable. And for me, it was listen to your instinct, Domenica, because your gut, your core, your soul will never let you down. For me, I had to consider what I'd learned about myself, about my relationships in general, and take away from that what I want in future friendships. It was a big aha moment for me. It was a whoa, like steam train coming right out. There's no way to stop this. You need to learn now, bitch. Open your eyes moment. So there are times where I think, oh my God, if I had done this differently, if I just listened to my gut. I can't go back and change the past. I can't go back and make everything different. What I can do is I can learn from that experience and make sure it doesn't happen again and take those lessons and be better for the future. Reflecting on this whole scenario, like everything that happened with Sit With Us, but also in the breakdown of my friendship and such a public, relationship that everyone felt so invested in. And still to this day, I get DMs saying that, people are so sad that we're not friends anymore. And it's like, yeah, it is really sad because you guys came on that friendship journey with us. You were there, you saw it play out on TV. You saw it play out on socials. You heard it on the podcast. You saw everything. And you were there with us, as this big community. And it is so sad. But at the end of the day, if that friendship was not serving me, then I can't sit here and be upset about it. And at the end of the day, it wasn't serving me. And when I reflect on the kind of friendship that it actually was, I don't think it really was a friendship that was of genuine nature. It was a pivotal moment for me, I guess, when I was in hospital. Obviously I was there to heal. I wasn't there to, be having phone conversations and, having FaceTimes and all of these kind of things. But I guess the distance and the silence was deafening while I was in hospital. There were messages here and there of support, don't get me wrong, but it just felt as though it wasn't taken seriously. A lot of the language used was, oh, you're away, or taking time off. No, I was in a mental hospital treating my mental health. I wasn't away on a holiday. I wasn't taking some time off. And I don't know if that's because she is uneducated, I guess, when it comes to mental health and the way to, I guess, be around people in that situation. So I guess I can't judge. But for me as a friend at that time, did I feel let down? Did I feel alone? Did I feel shunned? 100% I did. I remember there was one time that Ella had flown to Sydney while I was in hospital. And I genuinely thought that she was going to take the time out to come and visit me because, of course, I could have visitors. My family, my friends, Jared would come and visit me in hospital. And the fact that my own friend, my own business partner, isn't going to take the time out of her day while being in Sydney to come and visit me, from that moment, it was another instinct moment. It was another trust your gut. Like something's going on here. It felt as though, and I don't know if this is from people in her ear or around her that were kind of telling her potentially distance yourself from Domenica, it's a bad look, because that's how it felt. It felt as though she was completely just trying to distance herself from me at that time. After we kind of decided, okay, well, we're not recording the final episode of Sit With Us, I received a message from Ella at like 6:30 on, I think it was a Wednesday night. I can't remember the day, but it was like, in the evening. And she said to me that she was in Sydney and that she would love to meet up with me the next day to have a coffee. And when I received the message, I was very apprehensive, to be honest with you. To be honest, I actually didn't want to go. At that point, I was really still upset that she had said to me that she didn't feel comfortable getting on the microphone and talking and recording that final episode. That just shit me. I was really annoyed with that. I feel like she wasn't respecting the listeners and the reason that we were in the position that we were in. But I knew that if I didn't go, I would regret it. But also, I don't know, something in my gut said that if I didn't go, that would be ammunition for her to do something. I don't know what. Once again, it's my gut. I'm going with the gut, okay? We went and we had like a 2-hour catch up and we spoke about a lot of things. We spoke a lot about how and when we both felt that the friendship started to kind of fizzle out. And I made it very clear to Ella the way that she made me feel at that time when the whole Sit With Us drama happened. The messages that she sent me being like really kind of narcissistic and self-centered and thinking that nothing had affected her business and everything was fine and she was still making money. Meanwhile, here I am. All of my partnerships had, paused, cancelled. I had no money coming in. I was going, she, and let's also, make this very clear. She obviously was, knew first, even before my ex-boyfriend knew that I was going to break up with him. I obviously, she was my best friend. I would tell her everything about how I was feeling in that relationship, that I wasn't feeling love, that I didn't, it wasn't serving me anymore. So she knew all of this. And for her to not see all of that and have the ability to put herself in my shoes and think how I felt in that situation, like it was a real boot in the mouth, foot in mouth situation, whatever that saying is. And I made that known to her. I made a promise to myself that if I was going to go and meet up with her at this cafe, that I was going to be completely honest with her about how she made me feel. And I wasn't going to let her get away with it, because I think for a while there, she probably thought that she was going to get away with it and I wasn't going to be honest with her. I think she thought that I was just going to get on with it, not bring it up, go back to normal. And there was no normal. There's no normal to go back to. By that point, it wasn't a fracture. It was a full-on break. And yeah, I guess that was the way that it happened. There's also been a lot of talk, and I've seen comments even on my own posts. People like to kind of start threads on some of my photos in Instagram and kind of talk about what they think was the start of the breakdown and where it all happened. And oh my God, Ella got married and Domenica got jealous and that's why they're not friends. Guys, come on, we're adults. Seriously? When I read that, I have to laugh, because why would I be anything but ecstatic for my friend to get married and have the most magical surprise wedding party thing, whatever you want to call it? So I just want to make that clear. That was not the beginning of the end. That was just happened to be, and no one knew it, that I was going through a breakup at that time. I was very overly emotional. Shit had hit the fan with our business, and I was going through a big change in my life. It was nothing to do with that at all, which still baffles me to this day. But yeah, the reason we caught up was I really needed to get all of that off my chest. And I actually knew that would probably be one of the last times that I would actually see her. And I haven't seen her since, and I don't plan on seeing Ella. And I don't, to be honest, know if I ever saw her in a room, would I actually go up and say hello? And that's not me being, a lesser person. That's just me protecting my peace. And there are some things, guys, I'm not going to, tiptoe around it. There are some things that I'm not telling you because they are private, and they are things that Ella knows, Ella and one other person know about, and they're the ones that have to live with that information and know that I know the truth. And it is what it is. And that's not me like breadcrumbing and trying to be like, oh my God, that's trying to figure out what she's talking about. You guys will never figure out what it is, let me tell you, because you wouldn't even expect this. But yeah, at that point of meeting up, there was a lot of things going on as well. And I guess I wanted to just show face and say that I'm strong. I think, there was a bit of time there where I felt as though Ella was treating me like a basket case, and that I was unstable and, wasn't capable. And which is the complete opposite of what I was at that point, coming out of the mental hospital, that was the strongest I've been in years. I gathered all those tools, all of this new information that I could take out into the world and be a stronger and better person, which I was. Getting back from holiday and getting back to reality of an empty home, not having, my partner there, not having a podcast to work on, not having anything in my future that was exciting and something to live for. It felt like in that moment. But in that moment, I remember very vividly, I had a cry. It was a whole week, I remember, of feeling very down. I then looked at myself in the mirror and I said, Domenica, you are not a victim. You are a creator. Pick yourself up out of this right now, and you are better than this. You can do it. And I looked at myself in the mirror, and I know it sounds silly, but I looked at myself in the mirror and I kept saying this to myself. And it was right then and there that I just knew I was no longer going to be a victim. That was it. I'm not doing this shit. I'm not being, feeling sorry for myself. It was definitely part of the grieving process and the healing process. But I just knew I need to move shit out of my way, and I need to make this path. I was like a fucking bulldozer. I was like, get out of my way. I am doing this. I am taking all of these ideas and things that I've learned on this path. I want to create. I want to be better. And that was the birth of Madwoman. I genuinely, for some period of time, I just didn't think I had it in me. I just didn't think I could do it. I was like, oh my God, how am I going to do this? I'm by myself. I've got to go into my savings. This is crazy. But I made it happen because I believed in myself. And, I had my family support around me during this time. Jared and I were still very fresh and new, but I had his support, unwavering support, even when I was like pushing him away because I had this amazing thing in front of me and I was just like, I don't know, I don't deserve this. I don't deserve this amazing man who's trying to like be there and support me. What do I do with this? Because I'd never had that before, guys. I was so deep in my masculine energy in my last 2 relationships that I didn't know how to be feminine anymore. I didn't know how to be a woman and just be there to be loved. I really do want to go deeper into that subject in a later episode because I think I have so much to say on this. And I really do believe that this relationship that I am in now with JB is the healthiest relationship I've ever been in my life. And I can say that confidently now as a 31-year-old woman who's been through and seen some shit. So I guess to wrap up this whole episode on the breakdown of friendships, my biggest advice is take the time to heal yourself, reflect, go through the lessons that you have learnt in that friendship, good and bad. Look at the positives and the negatives. Look at it all, write it down. Open your journal, write it down, scream, listen to music, cry, go through photos. This is part of that cathartic healing process that you need to go through. I know I can sit here right now and speak so confidently and not get overly emotional about this, but guys, let me tell you, there was no way that I could have sat there and had this conversation with you, 3 months ago or whatever it was, because I was going through it. I genuinely was grieving the loss of a friend, this person that was literally like family to me. And it is all part of that healing. Acknowledge your feelings, reflect on the friendship, give yourself time and grace to heal. And always, always look for those lessons. They are there. This will enable you to know what you want in future relationships, friendships, whatever it may be. Always know that even out of the darkest, deepest pits of whatever you're in, there is always a lesson there. And that in itself is always a positive.
Dear Dom, I have a question for you.
Dear Dom.
Welcome to Dear Dom, where your burning questions meet my no-holds-barred advice. Whether you're navigating love, work, or that weird neighbor situation, I'm here to dish out wisdom with a side of sass. All right, we have finally reached our final segment for this episode, which of course is Dear Dom. And let me tell you guys, I have been overwhelmed with questions for Dear Dom. I am like obsessed with how much the listeners are wanting to be involved in this segment. Like, I love it so, so much. A really interesting question that came through this week that I'm just going to get off right now because it's actually, no, I don't want to say that. Sticking, I guess, with that theme of friendships, loss, grieving, this was a really interesting question, and it's something that has changed for me in the last 6 to 12 months. And the question was, Dear Dom, and the question was, how do you and have you managed to show up in times that you didn't think you could? And I really needed some time to reflect on this because if you had asked me this question a year ago, I would have just said I would have just sworn my way through it, screamed my way through it, and then cried about it later. Now, 2024, version 2.0 of Dominica can say, I pause, I reflect, I take a deep breath, and I really think to myself first and foremost, do I really need to say something right now, or can I wait? That pause, the power of the pause, and I know that my inaugural episode of Monday Mindfulness was the power of pause, and there's been so much incredible feedback on that episode. It is just the shit, like a pause, just a moment. And like some days you just got to show up. Like if I'm having an anxious day and I've got an appointment at 10 o'clock, I can't fuck around. Like I can't cancel. It's that pause. It's looking at myself in the mirror. It's telling myself that everything is okay, putting my hand on my chest, on my shoulder, hugging myself, doing some somatic therapy, breathing in some aromatherapy, a scent that makes me feel comfortable, whole. All of these things can help me get through and manage through those times where I don't think I can show up. The saying that's really helped me and guide me through the last 6 months has been the only way out is through. Whenever I'm really struggling, even if it's just through the day, it's 9 o'clock and I'm like, I've got a headache. I've got so much to do. I don't know how I'm going to get through today. Today is not a good day. I'm really struggling. I'm depressed. I just remind myself the only way out is through. I have to live this day. Domenica, you have to get through this. There's no other way. And tomorrow is a new day. I always remind myself that. Guys, if I'm struggling with my anxiety, if I'm having a really just terrible mindset day, like where I feel, really negative about myself, I always just tell myself the only way out is through and tomorrow is a new day. And I think when you really reflect on that, and acknowledge it, that sometimes you have to sit through that uncomfortable feeling. And when you come out the other end, even if you are that tiny bit stronger, that is all those building blocks to build you up and up and up. Going through difficult times are only going to make you a stronger person, guys. I can't reiterate that more, like from my heart and my soul and everything in my being. So I really wanted to address that one as my main DDOM this week because I thought it was very fitting for this episode. Another quick one was, DDOM, how do you stop the negative self-talk in your head? And the reality is, guys, that negative self-talk, it's always going to try and come in. The self-sabotage, all of that, it's going to happen. You're a human. You are not an AI robot. The negative self-talk is always going to try and sneaky in. You just have to have the tools in order to not let it affect you. The negative self-talk's always going to be there. There's no way of getting around it. But you're the one that has to take on those tools, whether it be the power of the pause, your daily gratitude practice, thinking about your goals, acknowledging that the only way out is through. All these little things that you can put in your little toolkit, your little makeup bag, as I like to call it, will help get you through. So that brings us to the end of another episode of Mad Woman. Wow, guys, that was a lot. I need a coffee and maybe a little bit of chocolate, to be honest. My little sweet treat already. It's not even 9 a.m. when I'm recording this, guys. I'm on a roll today. Let me tell you, as I sit here amongst all of my moving boxes and my life that is strewn over tables to my left and to my right. Thank you so much for being here and listening to another episode of Mad Woman. I really hope that you got something out of this episode. Thank you for listening and thank you for giving me this space for me to have this cathartic moment where I just I wanted to say all of this and I wanted to just let it go and then we move on. The only way out is through. Have an amazing day, guys. I'll chat with you next week.